We live on Instagram.
I need to call you back. I'm in the show.
Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. All right, we're good.
We're good.
Yeah, you put this in here.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, you turn it around. Okay.
So we should be good to go on the sound and stuff.
All right. Oh, you want to press it? See. I should have. Wow, could have my iPad.
Let me grab my phone here real fast.
Could. You probably going to do that.
Yeah.
What's up, Kira? I was gonna say, Marcus is doing it.
We up in here.
I know, right? Another one. I wish we had it.
I mean, they put outside of me.
Yeah, that's cool.
If I know there's been us 2 minutes, we definitely did that.
I mean, we can go ahead and get started. Let me finish recording anyway. All right. So today we're going to be basically highlighting things about fathers among men, and it's episode 27. Our co-parenting platform basically we built the entire platform to make certain men, to kind of bring light to like men are equally as important as the women when it comes to like co-parenting relationship. And then we always obviously show our respect and our love towards the women because they definitely hold a key contribution to raising children in today's society. So what we wanted to do was take the time to basically not only hear from a man's side of the view, but we basically wanted to focus on a very specific conversation today, which you will see we have a special guest, Marcus Green. So salutations to you, man. Yeah, so this is the man behind the master plan, behind the producing and making the sound good. So we want to kind of bring you on today as a special guest. We obviously have a list of questions to kind of walk through and just talk about like your journey, how you guys started, and then the main topic about fathers among men, and then the nonprofit. So that's actually the name of the nonprofit. So we wanted to just take the time to kind of highlight how you guys started and then put emphasis on you as a father. So we'll get right into it. The first question that I have for you is, can you tell some of the viewers about your overall journey and then what actually led you down the path to actually launch that nonprofit called About Fathers Among Men?
Well, I always tell people that I'm a little long in the tooth. But however, a lot of my friends that I've known since high school, we were all in our early 30s. Mm-hmm. And we looked around and really only one of us had any kids at that point in time, which, for us growing up, people had kids in their early 20s and, even in their teens. So for us, it was like, whoa. And then after that, it was like we all looked around and everybody was like, well, so how do we do this parenting thing? Mm-hmm. And I knew that if I or any of my friends had those concerns, other people out there would have the same concern as well too. And so I thought about it from my own personal standpoint of like, hey, maybe there's some things that I need help with because I don't know. One of the things I think we have to do as men is admit a lot of times that we don't know.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
And so I'm definitely willing to say, how they had the whole hair plugs for men. Mm-hmm. I'm not on president, but I'm also a client.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah.
So So I'm the guy like, hey, look, I don't know if I know all this stuff. And so on that journey, not only as a group for my friends and stuff like that, but just all the fathers that we come in contact with, I thought that, hey, look, it's some things that we could do to be able to help fathers out.
Definitely.
In whatever capacity that we have.
Definitely.
So our journey led there, and I was just sitting back one day and just like, look, man, I need to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to help people, so I need to do something to help myself and to help others as well. That's pretty much how we kind of got started.
Definitely. So in terms of the name,
Mm-hmm.
How did that come about? Like did you have like a list of different names down, or you just say, hey, let me think of this because this may be like the most applicable to like your mission and vision? So how like the overall name come about?
I was, it was a process. I was sitting back, going through several names, and I said, I know I want to be fathers.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason in my mind, I knew it wanted to have the acronyms FAM.
Okay.
For some reason, because it's family too as well. Family.
Yeah.
So I knew it wanted to be that. You go through a long list of like what it means and what it represents. And when I came to it, and people might say it's not correct, and so whatever they want to say about it.
Yeah.
But when I came to the name, it was like fathers among men.
Yeah, that's dope.
And it stuck with me. And so I was just like, that's it.
Yeah.
And then you write it on everything. You write it on everything, try to see if it makes sense.
Yeah.
You sleep on it, you wake up in the morning, and that name still comes to you.
Yeah.
So that was my process about going through it.
Yeah, no, that's dope. And like also like I like how creative it is, right? So like you said, like that FAM,
Mm-hmm.
like the acronym, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it basically, I don't know what it's, should not know I'm using that phone. Yeah. Maybe we can reply on there.
Okay.
Or maybe here
You said the audio sounds really low.
Oh yeah. We can turn up a little bit. Is that better? Somebody is. Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. So basically, like we talked about, like what actually led up to your journey. So, and then the actual acronym, like so, like where the name came from, like where that derived. So, why was it so significant to basically start the organization? And did you specifically have a group in mind in terms of who you wanted to impact?
First time fathers like myself, actually. Not necessarily ones that came later on in life, because I felt like, me being in my early 30s, I had a lot more life experience than someone who was in, say, in their 20s, the early 20s. And so I thought if I'm looking around like, hey, how do I do this? It's a great possibility that they would too.
Right.
So I took that approach and just said, hey, whatever it is that we need to do, whatever capacity we need to do, then let's try to do it with fathers.
Definitely. And like that's dope too, because I think like in my opinion, like you see a lot of programs and a lot of organizations that they focus on, and I don't want to sound sexist, but they focus on a lot of women, right? So I think with like what you're doing, like your overall organization now, I think now, like you can even contest to this, or maybe you can chime in. So do you have issues with so say you want to do like some type of event where you bring in the fathers in terms of the participation, like how does that look? Because I know we have a lot of testosterone, right? So, and to your thing is, most men, I think African American men in general, they kind of lack that, that area of being able to say, I just don't know. You know what I'm saying? Or like what route should I take, or how should I do this, or whatever. So for you specifically, have you, or do you see that you may send something out, hey guys, I'm doing this, whatever, it's going to be the event, we need X amount of fathers. So like you've seen that meme where you can plan a trip a year ahead and you got 150 people that's trying to go, but then the day of the trip you got 2 people.
Yeah.
So do you run into that similar analogy where you got a lot of fathers excited, but then the day of or when your event comes, it's like, where y'all go?
Well, I think in general with men, we tend to, and I think Kate Anthony talked about it last week. You guys, when she was on you guys' show, she talked about how the guys wanted to start a podcast just for the fathers and for the guys, and how when it came down to it, only one person pretty much showed up.
Yeah.
I've been blessed. I don't know if you remember, but the first event we had, you and Chris, you came to, when we were at the water park. So that was great participation. But since then, we've gone on and do things like one of the time we had somebody who owned a bar, who opened up a bar, so we could just come in as a fellas and just talk and just chop it up.
Yeah.
Now the participation and attendance from that, it was so. You only had like 5 one Saturday, and you may have 7 next Saturday, but it wasn't a consistent group for the place it was in.
Yeah.
But we do find that sometimes you have situations in which you have events and not a lot of men participate in.
Definitely.
But it's probably a possibility of 2 things. Like a lot of times you have to have the resources or namesake to be like, hey, I can reach so many people for people to come out and participate in and stuff. But, it's definitely more challenging to get the men out there.
Yeah, definitely. So if you wanted to kind of increase your participation, what type of, because like for me, like even like with my mentorship program, like there's a process of elimination, right? There's a screening. So what needs to transpire for individuals to join into your particular organization? Like, is it first time, or do they have to be fathers? Like what if they're?
No, we do father figures, men in general. I think because it's always moving, right? You could not be a father one day and then be either father or father figure the next, because it's always moving.
Definitely.
And so I think it's always to be able to help men in general become better equipped to be the men in their families' lives. So our mission statement is pretty much says, hey, look, we want to help fathers remain a vital part of their family's lives. And that's what we strive for.
Yeah, and that's an excellent segue. I'm just going to ask you the importance of the backing of your mission statement, and then how much heavily do you stick to that? Because I know some people have mission statements in their nonprofit organization, and they may veer off to the left or right just to accommodate to the masses. But for you specifically, it sounds like this is our mission and vision, and this is what we're sticking by.
Well, because it's so broad, though. If you think about the mission statement, just to help families, help fathers remain a vital part of their family's life. That's a broad mission, right? Because that can entail anything. So, like, for instance, sometimes we've seen, like, somebody has come to us like, look, right now, my funds aren't where they are. And we help them get hotel rooms for a couple of days for them and family and stuff like that. If you need, hey, look, I'm down on my luck, but I got a job that's waiting on me. I have no clothes or no shoes. We help people with that. So we try to do anything and everything that we can in order to be able to help fathers.
Definitely.
So it's a broad statement, and I do get it, because when you're in a nonprofit world, as you know, like, things are forever moving.
Yeah.
Right. Because you go one place and maybe like, this is what your organization does, and maybe be like, yeah, but we want to give you the funding for this.
Sure.
And so a lot of times what will probably happen is that you go where the funding is.
That's true. We have to call audible.
Right. And so I can definitely see how that happens, especially with definitely organizations.
Yeah.
But our mission statement and vision is pretty broad in the way that we get there.
Yeah.
But
that's pretty, and sorry to cut you off. I think that's smart. Like, even with the nonprofit that I have, I think our mission and vision is so specific. It's really hard to deter off of that specific path. But I think with what you're doing, and even to your point, sometimes you have to follow where the funding goes, because a nonprofit organization, you're as successful as your funding, your donation, your contributions, stuff like that. So I completely get it, and I definitely commend you on that as well. But from like a nonprofit perspective, and like with what you're doing, like what you have done, do you feel like there's any areas where you would like to focus on more, like hosting events, raising funds? And I think that's important, because even to some of our viewers, and even with what you have going on, it's important to actually put or output like what you're exactly trying to accomplish. Because I think, to your point, you may have a huge audience whenever or prior to having the event, but then you have the event, it's a smaller audience. I think for you specifically, it's just nailing that vision and mission out there so that we can actually reach the masses. Because obviously you probably started like this and now you're starting to grow. So like, what areas do you think you may be able to, I guess, touch more of the male masses on that are fathers, or maybe even the stages of thinking about becoming a father?
Yeah, well, first I'll talk about it from the father standpoint. Just doing a better job of nailing down like exactly what will get people enthusiastic about coming out and sharing. Because there's a social aspect that I really want to tap into because I believe we can all learn from each other.
Definitely.
From small conversations, whether it's whether you're somewhere and it's two guys just chopping it up somewhere else.
Yeah, definitely.
I believe we can do that. The other part of what we wanted to do, which right now it's in Middle Georgia, for my homeboy who's on our board, Fred, he's flourishing right now in the Middle Georgia area, which is our younger audience, which is our fathers to be.
Okay.
So we feel like
that's dope. So also proactive.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a mentorship program too, right? It's not just necessarily to teach them how to be or to cultivate them being better fathers. We just being better men in general.
Definitely.
And if you're being better men, of course you're going to be better fathers.
Yeah.
So he is down there, and he has got it booming down in Macon. He's got a lot of programming down there with a lot of young guys. And when I go down there, and the times that I go down there, I'm just a helper. So, he's got it running so smooth. I'm just like, just tell me where I need to be, where I need to go. He has it now. He's running a program now, Pathway to Manhood, where he's signing up young men and teaching them a lot of life skills, and being a great help to parents as well. Where are you going to go when you can drop off your son for 7 to 8 hours a day and you can enjoy your day?
That's true.
And they are not there just playing basketball and stuff like that. They're actually learning life lessons throughout the day.
Yeah.
So that program is definitely helpful. So those are kind of two components that we look at. One is going to be fathers, men who are in that realm grown, and the other part is going to be our younger men, teaching them how to be, help hopefully cultivate them being better men in their life.
Definitely. Yeah, that's dope. That's super dope. So we've actually alluded to your wonderful nonprofit, but I think even like some of the viewers may be interested to know like what's to you behind the organization, right? So we know that, first off, I want to say thanks for basically coming on to the show and supporting us from like the production aspect, because like, that's huge for us. Like, how excited I get like when I put the
That's why I want to give them headphones.
Yeah, because I was inclined to talking and singing into the microphone. So, but like besides that, like let's get more into like what you do outside the nonprofit, right? So even more specifically, the production company. Like, you came in here when you first was like, man, we can help you out X, Y, and Z. We can kind of help the co-parenting platform. So the production company specifically, like, tell us more about that. Like, how did that start? And even with the nonprofit organization, with what you do in terms of editing the videos that you do for us, I mean, I think those, like, they almost go hand in hand, right? So tell us like a little bit about the production company that you have going on.
Well, so the production company was started about 2 years ago, and I've always been interested in something with film related. I was one of those little kids who, when most kids were trying to watch, cartoons all day on Saturday morning, I was watching movies.
Yeah.
So that was always my life.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I've always been interested in something in that capacity. And it wasn't until probably the last year and a half where I kind of focused in on kind of this production company. And so me and my partner, we formed this production company. He's more so on the music side of things. So he's more on the music side of things, but I'm more on the film side of things. And it's been a journey, man. I'm learning a lot of things. I love to reach out to people to learn a lot more. But as this process, on this journey, this process, man, it's been so dope. Even being here on this platform with you guys, and thank you again for having me on here.
Sure.
I'm learning a lot too as well. So as far as a production company, being able to tap into different things, because I'm doing from an audio standpoint, from a video standpoint, at times a photography standpoint. So just trying to venture out to be able to do what I can. Yeah.
So perfect segue to the next question. So like with me, I got a host of things I'm juggling, right? And a lot of the stuff that I do is really for my kids, right? So I can position myself to become not only a better father, but being able to manage things, right? So prioritizing. So with you specifically managing, and I mean, I'm pretty sure outside of just you with the production and nonprofit, you have other stuff that you actually do, probably like in a day-to-day job. How does all that help in terms of like advancing you and making you stronger, like from like a professional standpoint?
Well, I always, and I know many men struggle with this. I always struggle with, you have to be the man to provide for your family, and then what time should you allot to your child, be able to spend time, and family in general too as well. So there's always to be honest with you, it's an everyday struggle.
Yeah.
Because when I wake up in the morning or in the afternoon or whatever, when I wake up, it's always like, all right, what do I have to do?
Yeah.
I have to get this done. I have to get that done. And then it's like, oh, we have to also, I see my daughter, and we do whatever we do for the day, and we have a lot of times, like on Fridays we watch like some movie or something like that, but we have those times that we do. But I know, like most men, and I know you can attest to it, it's an everyday struggle to be able to balance what should you be doing in your life as it relates to not only business going forward, but your family too as well.
Yeah, yeah. So with what all you have going on, you got the production company, like your basic 9-to-5, then you have the nonprofit. Where do you feel the most pressure comes from? Is it from, because when you have 3, 4, 5, 6 different entities in terms of you having some type of job, maybe not even all the jobs bring in income, but where do you think the biggest pressure comes? And you're married, so it would be good to hear what your perspective is in terms of what the pressures are, right? So even being a father, you've been in the household of your child, and you're being with your wife. You juggling all the multiple spinning wheels that you have going on. What's the most challenging for you as a father? Loaded question, I know.
Right.
You can answer however you want to answer.
I think as I alluded to, it's all of it, because you have to prioritize. That's what I try to do. Prioritize. Okay, financially, what thing is going to make the most sense to go after, or to spend the most time on, rather.
Yeah.
And then it's like, hey, and your wife and your daughter's looking at you like, hey, it's time, it's family time.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I got to take care of this.
Yeah.
I can't spend that time right now. And it's being able to get them to understand that concept of daddy has to do this right now.
Yeah.
And we can't do that right now. Or in terms of my wife, like, I'm holler at you in a minute. Right now I have to take care of these things.
Right.
But I prioritize what really pays the bills for the most part. And then even after that, you're venturing to do things in your life too, right? Because you want to be, they always say, you should have money pulling from different areas. So trying to do that too, it's definitely, like I said before, it's an everyday struggle and an everyday battle to kind of figure out how to manage your time when it comes to work, being able to pay bills, and then family time too as well.
Definitely. So this and like we're just flowing the conversation. So what's most important to you? Being there, and you can only pick one. Being there financially, or that time?
Oh man,
tough. I know.
That's a tough. That's really a tough question. And in the next 20 or 30 years, it's always going to be time.
Yeah.
But we also understand on the same boat that, as we've seen, time also has to make sense when you're financially able to be able to kind of cultivate a life for you and your family.
Yeah, true.
Because like I said before, I've seen families, and we probably all have seen families when you go to a grocery store, right? And you see a family that, look, I need X amount of dollars just for the night. And so how do you see that and then be like, well, all I want to do is spend time. But I also understand the importance that time is going to rule over everything, because we know as when we were younger, my parents worked.
Yeah.
Like both my parents worked. I was talking to my pops the other day. He was like, "Yeah, son, you get it from me and your mom. All you do is work." I said, "But that's what pays the bill. I would love to have a job where I only worked, 2 or 3 days a week, and then was able to spend more time. And maybe that's the goal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be able to find something that is profitable enough to be able to take care of your family, so you can be able to spend that time."
Yeah. Yeah. I feel the same way. So it's like right now, like in my early 30s, like my main objective is just to become financially stable, and it's more so that my son or my son don't have to work as hard as me, right? So to your point, time is very important, but it's to a point where what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, right? So do you go all in? And I mean, some people say, well, you got to be able to make time for what's important to you. That's very true. But at the same time, if you're on a path where you're trying to make it and you're trying to establish a concrete foundation, you got to go hard, right? Because like, you don't want to be 45, 46, 47, 48, wearing yourself out because in your early 30s or whatever the case may be, you really didn't utilize your time.
Right.
So I think it's important, to your point, and I think it's a very good point you made, it's really all what makes sense, right? So now my next question is there ever a time where like you think that, okay, I've reached this level of success, now it's time to sit back, or is it going to be a forever chasing, I guess, fixation?
Prayerfully, it's not. Prayerfully, you reach to a point where you're like, hey, look, I can sit down and relax, and my family can take, a vacation every, 3 or 4 months, or something small. That going to some foreign country or something like that. Maybe headed down to Savannah or Dustin or something like that. Something you can do, for like a weekend or something like that. But when it can get to that point, I think you know it's time to kind of prioritize on the time part of it more often.
Yeah.
But the process of getting there, which is what I believe you and most men probably have questions and struggle with.
Yeah.
Is like, how do we prioritize time when we're in the process to get to the point where we can spend more time and financially? Because we know, it's been reported that the number one issue as far as divorce goes is finance.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when your finances are not in order, a lot of things in your life are not in order.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah.
And
that's an excellent point. That's excellent. So let me ask you this. Do you think that there's a distinction between, if you're in a marriage situation, should the woman be just as financial as the man to alleviate some pressure, versus you being in a co-parenting situation where you may be stable, but she's not? Like, what's your opinion on that?
I think you have to do what works best for you guys. Because, we have the traditional, the man should work and, pay bills and do all this other stuff.
I don't believe in that.
Right. But I just believe you have to do exactly what works for you guys.
Yeah, true.
And that's whatever. If you come from a background and it works well for you and your significant other, where you as a man, you're just working and she's at home, doing whatever she's doing. If that works well for you, then then that's your thing. But I always advise people to do what works well for your dynamic and your family.
That's true.
But I come from a household where my mom worked at least 2 jobs.
And that's what I was alluding to. Like, I'm so used to a woman being able to hold her on, and then so my mom's situation was, I have a sister that's black and white. She's mixed. I got a brother that's Puerto Rican and black. I'm Nigerian, Haitian, and black. So I think maybe call it Oedipus complex, but basically you reach out and like there's a reflection of the opposite sex parent that you actually seek in your partner, right? So for me, I'm not attracted to a woman that's not a go-getter, right? You can have the purses, you can be an Instagram celebrity, you can do all this, but when it comes down to, if I mess up and you can't, or like if I lose my job and you can't hold us, and like there's characteristics that you can actually see in it. So to your point, and I go back to the initial question was, how do you juggle all this, and does it make you a better father, and does it make you better professionally? Because in your situation, you're managing 2 and 3 different jobs. You got to juggle between time, which may be important, but then the finances, that money not coming in. So that's why I asked the question is, how important is it for your spouse or your co-parent to basically be financially stable and be a go-getter as well? Because as you know, as an entrepreneur, money ain't always going to be coming in.
Yes, sir.
But when it comes in, that's when you may have to tug a little bit at the time end and pull it back towards the finances and the hustle. So I can agree with you. And it may be you've seen how your mom has operated. So now that may be something that you're used to, but then again, to your point, whatever works for your household. But I think me specifically, it don't attract me. Like, for me, I'm more so on brains versus beauty. So help me figure out how to make money. You know what I'm saying? And I know as fathers, and more specifically for us, we look at it as like, a lot of women are old traditional. The man works, brings in the money, does X, Y, and Z. But for me, I want to know if I'm out here hustling and something don't go right, I can go back to you like, hey, we lost everything. So I don't worry about it. Right. Versus like, what you mean we lost everything? Oh, hold on now. You know what I'm saying? So like your overall take is basically what works best.
Yeah. I believe so, man. But like, especially when you look across the scope of social media and you see like everybody's gonna be like, you should do this and you should do that, you should do that. But you have to, because everybody's personality is different. Yeah. So you just have to do what works best for you and your significant other.
Yep, I agree. All right. So this next session, we're gonna go into a woman in the man cave, right? So this segment would obviously only take place whenever the board's not here, and it's basically just so some of the topics that we basically talk about is like women always wonder what actually goes on and what we talk about in the man cave. So we're just gonna keep this dialogue open and honest. So do you think that there's a belief that men don't really express their emotions, like when it comes to discussing certain hard topics amongst each other? Because I know a lot of men are afraid to become super, super vulnerable. And whenever you look into, well, me specifically, I think I became the best father when I became most vulnerable, right? I removed my emotions. I removed the past tensions and anger and all that other stuff. So I'm able to express if I'm in a man cave about stuff that I'm going on. But I even think me and you even kind of alluded to certain topics before. It's like, you really can't have that image of like you trying to basically vent. But what do you think if men, or I guess this is, well, we're more so speaking because there's no one on the platform, but do you think that men have an issue with expressing like their emotions, like when it comes to certain topics and things?
Yeah, definitely. Because we are socially trained to not show the emotion in some aspects. And that's why I believe that it was great, especially for my organization, for Fathers Among Men, is for us to socially be around other men to understand that, hey, look, especially for some seasoned fathers, look, I cried, we'd be like, hey, look, bro, I cried for my son. I cried my son, baseball game, whatever happened, so those type of things. Yeah. But men need to hear that other men are doing those things, because we do carry the stigma that we're supposed to be strong, invincible, and in real life, we're emotional. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I definitely believe we have a hard time adjusting to it, having a hard time expressing it. And I think the more it's socially accepted, the more we'll be able to kind of get that off our chest.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
It's not healthy to hold on.
No, like you're absolutely right. So do you think, and I'm gonna keep asking you questions just so we can kind of have an engaging dialogue. So with everything that you just mentioned, it sounds like there's been instances where you became super vulnerable just becoming as a father. So do you think that those traits, when you become more vulnerable, when you communicate better, when you kind of push certain things to the side so that you can basically have a clear focus, clear vision, has those instances overall made you not only a better person, but a better father?
Yeah, I think so. I think I have a big adjustment period because, like I tell everybody, it's about parenting.
Yeah.
Okay. But oftentimes it's about parenting, like how you were raised, right? If you're raised in a household where emotions wasn't necessarily a priority, then you're going to carry on that tradition, or you could be the opposite. You're just like, I want to have this outpouring of emotion because I never received that when I was younger. But I think a lot of it's based on parenting. And my parenting, like I said, my parents, and I love them, and if they're watching this is not anything negative, but I don't know if my parents showed a lot of emotion towards my upbringing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, bro, I can relate to you, bro. That I didn't hear and not to turn because it's about you, but just to relate to you.
This is about us.
Not, bro, not to like I don't remember my mom saying that she actually loved me until I was probably like, oh, and no pun intended, mom, like you strong girl. But I don't recall that till I was like in my 20s, bro. So it's like holding hands with a woman, all that stuff is new to me. But like certain women that I dated, they brought things out of me that I'm like, oh, that's dope. You know what I'm saying? So I can honestly say that I don't know if it was low confidence, but I think they were like how people say you're a product of your environment. You're only used to what you're used to. Correct. And once you get outside of that box, and it's just like you stay in the hood, and then all of a sudden you may move to the white neighborhood, and then you hear firecrackers. But then you're like, hold on, these ain't gunshots now. I'm out in a new environment. So now it's something that you can get acclimated to. For me specifically, I didn't really know that there was I think there's tiers in terms of men emotions, right? And I think once you date a woman that brings that, because like you married your wife, so you know who's good for you and who's not. Right. But to your point, you don't think that there was enough love that was basically calibrated in your upbringing. I didn't even know what that meant until I started dating women that really helped me become more successful, more goal oriented. And then I looked towards women that were older, because older women, in my opinion, they have their stuff on right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like you can date a woman that's close to your age, but a lot of women that I dated, even when I was in a situation with a Christian's mom, I don't think I wasn't mature enough to know what I wanted as a man, right? So that was something that I knew would never work because I was still building and growing as a man. And I think to your point, you don't know what you want as a man until you become vulnerable. I was embarrassed to become vulnerable. Now it's like I date a woman and she was like, "Don't do." I'm like, "Man, that's right." Oh yeah, my bad. But like told me, they were definitely talking about man, but like, calm down, young soldier. You know what I'm saying? Calm down a little bit. So, bro, like when you said that, I could relate to you. But it's dope how right now we're in the man cave, right?
Yeah.
So it's like we're talking about topics. Although we're on air, but we're talking about topics that like this is some of the stuff that I think men that are very mature and comfortable with who they are as men can talk about.
Yeah.
So women may think that in the man cave you're talking about booty, you're talking about, and in some cases you are. You know what I'm saying? But as a married man, you don't do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
Yeah, you don't do that.
But no, but I think these are the conversations that stimulate me mentally as a man, right? So it's like all the stuff that you went through when you were younger, you didn't really know what you wanted, you didn't really know what you liked, but you thought you liked it. It's like now you're in a position now where we're in a man cave, right? And certain topics, like you said something the other day to me, and it just resonated, bro. The biggest thing about becoming a man, not only becoming a man, but becoming a great father, is finding what your piece is. So once you find what your piece is as a man, it automatically has a positive correlation to how you interact as a father, bro.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And now there's not many things that can trigger me because I have that conversation with myself, like, maybe it wasn't meant that way, or it ain't that serious.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But bro, because I didn't receive that love coming up, all this stuff, I had to learn that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, when I have a son or daughter, I want a daughter so bad, bro. But like when I have a
be careful.
Yeah, true. Like that's definitely true. But not to be super long-winded, but yeah, to your point, it was more so about talking about like some of the things that make you more vulnerable and how does that contribute to you basically becoming a great father. And I think you answered that, right? So if you got something you want to chime in on that, or are you good?
Oh, well, yeah, I think we talked about it a little bit. I mean, one of the things that I always say, man, is that as me and Cedric, we talk about this. Everybody's journey is going to be different.
True.
Right? Like as we talk about kind of the things that led us here, and Cedric is successful in what he's doing. He's learning. He's learned a lot about fatherhood along the way. Same thing with me. I've learned a lot about fatherhood along the way too, as well, because I didn't know.
Yeah.
But this is what I would say to all the fellas out there: is that your journey is going to be your journey. It's not going to look the same as anybody else's journey.
That's very true.
And so if you are, especially, if you come from a loving family or a family that shows love all the time, and, something's different about the way you show love to your child, then I would suggest figuring out what that is.
True.
Because, we are sometimes put in a position to where we have to focus on one thing and we push a lot of us to the side.
True.
Or not that we are pushed, that we feel like we are pushed, or that we feel like it's our responsibility.
Yeah.
To be able to kind of go one way and focus on that.
True.
So I would just say that, hey, the advice I would give to men is that follow your own journey. Nobody's journey is going to be the same.
True.
And to keep on pushing through.
Yeah. And so you alluded to something, and you actually mentioned a buzzword. It's responsibility, right? So I think we as men have a responsibility to break the cycle. And you know what I also say, bro? The tongue is a powerful weapon, right?
It is.
You know what I said? I said, man, like, so I watched some close friends have children by women that they didn't want to be with. And guess what I said? Man, I ain't gonna be in that situation, man. I wish I would have 2 baby mamas. And literally back to back, bro. So it's like sometimes we as men, it may take 3 chances for you to break that cycle.
It's life.
It's very much life. But like you said, bro, you gotta live the path that's best for you. Because say that you went by the American dream, you got married and y'all had 3 kids and then y'all broke up and got divorced. Now you got 3 kids and 1 baby mom. For me, it took me multiple instances to learn, like, keep your junk in your pants, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then again, it still boils down to, bro, I didn't have a father to say, here's a package, right? Put this package on the Peter so that you don't have kids and it prevents you from STDs.
Right.
So it's like, you got to live the path that's best for you. And sometimes that path that's best for you, you may have broken the cycle. But I say it shouldn't take 3, 4, 5, 6 baby mamas for you to actually realize it. Me, unfortunately, I didn't have guidance, bro. I came to Atlanta making a lot of money, but I think for us specifically, like you're setting the standard for if you have a son. Now your son sees that he's in a household where the mother and father are together. For me specifically, all I can do is ensure that my next relationship is my best relationship, and I'm exposing him to things that I can expose to his mom. Because regardless of whatever happened between me and his mom, it's important that we don't continue to break the cycle, right? Because you, at some point, I forgot the saying what he was saying. What was it, Bush? Like one time you fooled me, or second time, yeah. Like it didn't make no sense. It didn't make no sense, but I can see where he was trying to go. Like, you fooled me once, shame on me. You fooled me twice, shame on me. Shame on me again. Fooled me 3 times, never again. But I don't know what it was. But the point is, we gotta break the cycle, and we gotta have those man cave conversations, bro. Because we as Black men, you got the athletes, you got the rappers, you got the entertainers. These are the people where the focal point is on, but they're not really representing what they should represent in terms of the man cave conversation. You know what I'm saying? So for me specifically, I'm trying to break the cycle where I'm trying to be patient, bro. I'm going to get married, but it's like, it's got to be right, because I don't want to have 3 baby mamas. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And for you, I mean, like what's your output on it? And a married man, you married man.
I think this is, I think Kira had a good point. And what I want to go with that is that even within marriage, I think I mentioned this earlier, we still have a component of co-parenting, right?
That's true.
Because we come from different backgrounds, right? My wife may have a different style of parenting because of the way she was, her parents raised her, and I may have a different style. So even within a marriage or a relationship, you still have those co-parenting aspects. I think Kira brought up a really good point that we always see when women, mother, girlfriend, where they always want to take me time, which is something that's like a spa day, get your nails done, you'll do those things. And we don't recognize what's me time for men. And it can be something as simple as hanging out with your boys. Something as simple as, I know some ladies don't like it, something as simple as playing video games. And we just talked about peace. Where do you find your peace?
Yeah.
Right? Especially even in your home when things are chaotic. Where do you find your peace?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And I know you talked about it before too, is that at times you just hop up and just go where you want to go to find your peace. Right? Yeah. And a lot of us, especially married, that may not be able to work out very well. You got to have a partner who's very understanding.
And I was about to say that you got to be with somebody that's meant for you. That's why, like, I think with your nonprofit organization, it's great because you can touch on a host of topics that better men in general, right? So it's like, we can't be fixated on the physical. Like, you really got to be intertwined and attracted to a woman's mental. Because I've dated women, and I mean, like, I'm dating somebody right now, and it's like, they understand me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm going to Vegas. All right, call me when you get there. And you better win us some money. You know what I'm saying? Or you can get what you going out there for? You about to go do this, you about to go do that. Why you don't want to be with nobody like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, to your point, they gotta, like, I move the way that I want to move, but that's like you telling the kid not to put his hand on the stove. They're gonna do it because you told them how to do it. Right. So sometimes, in your point, do what's best for you and do what's best for your ecosystem. Because at the end of the day, the worst case that I think African American men, and I keep alluding to African American men because you and I can relate. Right. The biggest pain, the biggest irritation is being misunderstood. Yes. And I think a lot of times and I don't want to put this stigma on us, but I think a lot of African American men, not that we don't know how to express ourselves, but it's just we've been confined. You just told me something that I didn't even know about you. You didn't, because I'm like, man, he married, so he must have grew up and had the best of luck. No. You know what I'm saying? So that was an expectation set on your behalf, saying, oh, I want to be married, I want to get married. Look what we're doing, because this is not what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it's like, you said an excellent point. You got to do what's best for you. And I think a lot of people, and there are a lot of co-parents, a lot of single mothers and all that, because we don't look at the soft skills. And the soft skills are, if they're ignored, they turn into big issues later on. Yes. You got to know what a person's piece is. You got to know what a man needs to support his ego, right? Yeah, another question in terms of no, like for real. So again, another question in terms of like how can women be more supportive to men and single fathers in general? And I think it's and I'm only able to speak this because I made, and I don't refer to them as mistakes, but because I refer to everything as lessons, right?
It's a lesson.
Exactly. Exactly. So I've got two boys, and I used to call them mistakes, but honestly, they're the best blessings that ever happened to me because now I'm able to sit here and be vulnerable and talk to our guest Marcus about topics that I can relate to you on. So I go back to saying it's a question for you. How do you think women can support men or their husbands or just single fathers in general?
I think it just comes down to one word: understanding.
Yeah.
Understanding that his peace, although it may not involve you, is not a slight or a knock on you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it takes understanding.
True.
Because, we just believe a lot of times, I'm not going to speak for women, but.
No, speak for them. Speak for them.
But we've had an understanding of like, women complain about, oh man, he playing this video game. He's always playing the video game. But that could be his piece, right?
Yeah, true.
Something as simple as that. And even within that, he probably has to kind of, when we talk about, time, quality time versus, whatever else you're doing.
True.
But I think it's just understanding, bro. Like women have to understand that this is what a man needs to function.
Yeah.
And I don't know if men can articulate that without, we talked about, being able to express yourself, express your emotions.
Yeah.
How many men you say, look, I do this because this is my piece, right? It'd be able to come to a wife or significant other and be like, hey, it's not a knock on you. I love you. I love spending time with you. I love spending time with our children. But I need this time right here for my peace.
Bro, I can't be with a woman every day. Because like when you said that, it hit me. It's like, so basically she want to be around you every day. She want to be tuggled up, and I can't do that, bro.
This is what I'll say.
Can't do it.
This is what I'll say. I'll say when you meet that woman that's for you, it won't become an everyday thing.
This is the first time I don't have to disagree with you. Because, bro, there's only one woman that I actually met, and I'm not going to say her name, but I met this one woman, right? And that's the only woman that I felt like I could be around every single day. So maybe she was my soulmate, but I'm still cool with her today. Like, she's super dope, and we really like are good friends. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, if I was more mature earlier, I probably would have been with her. But it's just like I think it was around the time that I had was dealing with Christian's mom. But that's the only time, bro. Because again, you said it right. What's your piece? Like as a man, you gotta be understood, bro. I can't do that. That's why I have so much respect for you. Because at the end of the day, it's like if you're not understood or if you don't you got a man cave.
No, not really. I mean, kind of sort of.
Okay, but I say I respect you even more because now we're in the man cave. So let's keep 127,000. You know what I'm saying?
Let's go.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But bro, I respect it. But me, I can't. But to your point, you're absolutely right. Maybe it just hasn't came around to that right one again because you're right. Because that person, it was just like, man, we good. Man, we playing Uno on the floor, cracking seafood and all that.
But you said something within that when you were talking about it.
Tell me what I said, bro.
You said you weren't mature enough at the time.
Yeah.
So,
well, you listen too damn much. I did say that.
So that meant she could have been that one that you were with every day, but because you were doing whatever it is you were doing, you weren't ready to find peace with her.
Yeah. And
it could be someone that comes along, that you find something similar with that understands your peace. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, she's gonna want peace too as well.
No, that's true.
And so that's what I always say, man. But it's about finding the one that's right for you.
Yeah, that's true.
And you may not think that's gonna happen, but I'm just so hopeless romantic. So I believe that everybody's got someone out there for them.
True.
But it's just gonna take somebody to get to know you to understand. Hey, look, this is how I move, right?
Yeah.
And it may be a point to where you going to Vegas this weekend? Well, I'm going to New York to go shopping this weekend. You know what I mean?
That's cool. You just ain't taking my car.
Right. I mean, yeah. But she's a hustle like you.
True.
She's got her own.
True.
And so that's where you may find a woman that y'all can meet like that.
Yeah.
And she's gonna love that time, right? I get to, I get a point to where there's no time where I have to spend time with someone.
True.
You know how dope that is to have a relationship with you.
And that, boy, you preaching, boy, you preaching, you preaching, boy, you preaching for real. But you're right, bro. Yeah, but that's true.
Well, you guys have an understanding.
Boys don't feel good.
Yeah, when you have an understanding. I love her, she loves me, and so even if we're away for a couple of days or however much time we're away, we still there. I'm gonna call you. We're gonna say good night to each other. No, you get out the phone, whatever. We still gonna do that, but we're gonna be in different places.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's not everybody's lifestyle.
Yeah.
That's yours. So that's not everybody's lifestyle. So there may be, somebody else's lifestyle may be like, hey, look, we need to spend X amount of time.
Yeah.
So everybody's journey is going to be different, but specifically in your case, you may have to meet someone who's into finding their peace in the way that you find your peace.
Yeah, no, that's true. But I think as becoming a great father, becoming vulnerable, having conversations such as what we're having now, and being able to kind of interject in terms of emotions as what men go through, right? Mm-hmm. I think it better positions you, because right now, bro, like when I'm dating, I look at something completely different than when I looked at like when I was younger, right? So it's like, to your point, the understanding is key. Not feeling like you have to be around them, because I think it should be like a reward, right? Because obviously, and I'm more so speaking specifically from a single man perspective, but not trying to get you in trouble, brother. Not trying to get you in trouble.
I ain't gonna say that.
You're gonna be nodding like, yeah, no, I agree, but I don't really agree with that. But yes, but it's just as you better yourself as a man, you become more vulnerable. Your stock increases, bro.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to really dissect deep down in terms of what you need to feed you and feed your peace and feed your understanding as a man. You know what I'm saying? So, but like with that said, for you being a father and married, and being a father and fear, all that stuff may coexist and kind of collide at some point. So you being a father, you having the one for nonprofit production, you basically balancing time and finances and just finding your peace. What's your biggest fear as a father, as a married father? And sorry to interject, but the only reason why I go to and I put emphasis on married, because we have two completely different, I guess, current situations.
Right.
So that's why I want to hear yours.
I think for me, it's time, man, that I'll look back, and my daughter will look back, 10 years from now, 10, 15 years from now, and say, I don't like my father because, he didn't spend enough time with me, and then I'll have to be like, well, daddy had to work, I had to do these things. But at the end of the day, as a child, nobody understands that.
That's true.
It wasn't until that I became, an adult and a father of my own that I was like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah. And
shout out to my parents, man, because we don't understand the reasons why parents make the decisions that we're making when we're young.
True.
We're as kids, we have to be selfish, because we don't have a great understanding of adulthood.
You're right.
At that time.
You're
so
right.
Your mom or your dad's out working and doing whatever they're doing. The only thing you think about is why they're not here spending quality time for you.
Yeah.
And we alluded to that earlier. How do you balance quality time versus being able to pay the bills?
Yeah.
And that's not just we want to make that clear. That's not just a man issue. That's a woman issue as well. Too.
Yeah. No, it is. Because like a single mother.
Yeah. Because you have to balance them both. You have to get the bills paid, and you also have to spend time with your child. So for me, that's probably my biggest fear, to look up, 10, 15 years from now, and for her to be like, my dad, wasn't a good father, he didn't love me, or something like that. Yeah. And so like I said, it's an everyday struggle to kind of figure out what that balance is, or to be like, hey, look, I know what's coming up. I can see these bills right here. X amount of dollars I got to pay here. X amount of dollars I got to pay there. And so that's probably my biggest fear, is being able to not be able to juggle or be able to balance both of those things.
Yeah. And so what's crazy, so me being in my situation, I think my biggest fear is probably the same thing, because as a man, and when you do have children, and I didn't even understand as a child, oh, my mom's gone all the time, and I wake up and she's gone, and when I see her, she may speak, may put some food on, and she gone again. Yeah. But now me being in that position, all it took really was my mom to explain. All she had to do was say, "Look, I'm going here. I got to." Because she was at the time she was going to college to get her second degree, and she was going to 2 full-time jobs. So at that point in time, she never explained it, so I didn't know. So now what I try to do is whenever I'm with my
shout out to mom. Shout out to mom.
Yeah. Shout out to mom, dude. Shout out to mom. I'm sending this to you directly after the show. But she didn't explain it to me. So now what I try to do, and I stay conscious of it, because before I would have Christian, I have my other son, I'm always working. Now it's simple text, I'm not working, or I'll save all my work for when they sleep. So now what I do is I cease the moment. And my son knows that daddy works all the time. So if he's like seeing me on the phone or we playing football, hold on, son, I'm about to. Do you remember that house we went to the other day? Somebody's about to buy it. So now I'm about to sell it so daddy can get some money. Okay, cool. So now he's in a position where he's involved. So now I try to involve him. But my biggest fear before I learned that communication is key, children remember a lot.
Oh, man.
So now it's like, man, son, I got to go out of town, but I'm going to call you when I get them on FaceTime and I show him stuff. So now I try to involve him. But my biggest fear before I learned that communicating in all aspects, at least to your children, was key, was basically him saying, all my daddy did was work.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to, I mean, like.
We share the same fear.
Yeah. Because all the V-Bucks that you buy, all the toys and stuff, they like it.
Yeah.
But if you basically went back and you asked them every single toy you bought them, they wouldn't know. Right. But if you went back and asked them when y'all went to the park, when y'all played football, when y'all had a water balloon fight, when y'all went to Andretti, when y'all did this, they remember the moments, not really the tangible toys and stuff. Yeah. So that's what I had to learn, but that was my biggest fear, bro. Yeah.
And so these are nuggets that I believe will help a lot of fathers. This is why, and as we circle back, this is why I wanted to kind of create this organization. From like a lot of standpoints, but for that exactly, like we talked about how do you spend quality time and how do you provide for your family, and we just kind of like you just dropped some good knowledge about how you go about it, how the journey and adjustment was for you, which I think a lot of fathers need to hear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it can't be us that's going through the same thing, right?
And brother, the dopest part about the journey that I've taken, you know what I'm saying? Like regardless of what my situation is, I think the beautiful part about it is when I get married, I'm gonna know how to be a good husband. I'm gonna know how to be a good father. I'm gonna know how to communicate. And even if it is a time where I'm always working, now I'm in a position where, hey, let's take the kids because I got a big business meeting in Cleveland or Florida or Puerto Rico. So I've worked so hard. Now it's like you include your family.
Yeah.
Even if instead of leaving them in Georgia, let's go to Florida because daddy has a big meeting. But y'all go on the beach. So now it's like daddy flew us out to the beach while he was buying properties. Now when I finish buying the properties, I mean, I'm with my family. So now I'm figuring out different ways and different strategies to include. And I think the biggest thing to all the fathers out there, for the fathers that want to be fathers, to include your family. And when you're juggling issues like that we struggle with, the time versus the finances, you grind. But during the interim, while your finances may not be a subpar where they need to be, you communicate. Once you get to that point where your finances are where they need to be, the communication is going to be there. But now let's include the inclusion. Right? So now, how about y'all come with me? We're going to take a little quick Friday to Sunday, Monday trip because daddy has to go out of town instead of leaving y'all. Instead of that, daddy was always going out of town. And letting me and mom and the kids here, y'all coming with me. You know what I'm saying? So you made an excellent point in terms of doing what's best for your unit. But I think the important part is being able to communicate because my biggest fear, bro, and it's just like I don't want any of my kids to say daddy was never there. I don't care how much I dislike their moms. The platform, the co-parenting platform is so that you guys can do it. You ain't got to like each other.
Yeah.
But while you guys are having mature conversations about your children, you got to like each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then for your situation, like, it's just mainly you hustling, you grinding. But once you run through that finish line and you made a big breakthrough, bro, man. Oh, I mean, I don't know if you're telling or not, but you're a new real estate investor.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So not only does Marcus have the production, not only does Marcus have a nonprofit, now he's basically joining me in terms of the mentorship program. So now we're in the real estate realm. So it's all about bettering. And to your point, bro, you made like all it takes is one flip.
Yeah.
So all that hard work, it's like, hey, like let's take a trip. You know what I'm saying? So I think the important part is ensuring that you're communicating and then once you communicate, then you include.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
that's pretty dope advice.
Yeah.
I didn't know this conversation was gonna go here, but I love it.
I didn't know either, but I'm 2 glasses down. Let's keep it going. Nice. Nice.
But I'm sure we're coming up on it.
Oh yeah, we passed it, man.
Yeah.
But I mean, time flies, having fun, man. But look, so basically to end it, we're basically proud of our accomplishment, right? We're gonna end the show like we're definitely way past time, but Marcus, we definitely appreciate you for coming on. Like we appreciate everything that you're doing for us. We appreciate where you've even helped the platform in general, like from like the production perspective. So high kudos to you, bro. Overall, we wish you, we wish the platform, we wish the board, we wish our producer here, we wish everybody great success.
Shout out to her.
Always to me, bro, I'm giving positive vibes. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a happy individual. So overall, we're gonna close out. We thank y'all for listening in. We hope we were exciting. Marcus, we appreciate you. The board's not here to say our saying, but I'll say it as close as we can. With an open mind, you can always shine. All right, so y'all, thank you. Bro, yeah, she'll be mad, bro. I don't know, bro. Like, I forgot it. Yeah, you always, yeah, bro. I don't know what the hell it was. But yeah, but no, bro, that was dope, bro.
That was.
Hey, man, we need to get like more fathers. Oh shit, I hope it didn't cut off. We need to get more fathers, bro, to like join us, bro.
Yeah, I mean, the platform and Kate Anthony talked about last week.
Damn, we had 23 people on, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it was going throughout the whole week for hours. It was going. I don't know about that one time, but at least they stopped through.
Yeah,
I was able to listen.
Damn, that's good. No, that's good, bro. Man, I promise you, I didn't know that about you because bro, I was like, yeah, he may have been like in a situation where he had his fathers and all that stuff. Hello.
Hey guys, that was such an amazing conversation.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Did you record it?
And I could have watched that for even longer.
Bro, I was talking. I was like, hold on, bro. It is 8:45.
Yeah, I know we were reaching the hour, so I was just pretty much kind of like.
I thought we were gonna go 30 minutes, but I mean, it was just so good. I was like, no, let's just keep going.